Rock of Florida. This morning, our message is going to be coming from our very own Elder James A. Hicks. We are excited to have Elder Hicks here. Just to give you a little background, he has a master's degree in business from Webster University. His undergrad is in communications from the University of South Florida. He is a native to the Central Florida. Central Florida. I must have said the University of South Florida because that is indeed the greatest school in the state of Florida. Go Bulls, I'm an alumni. But otherwise, Elder James Hicks is from the university. He has served in different capacities, to musician, to teaching Bible studies, teaching youth classes, helping to serve on the grounds. He's a well-rounded individual, and we are blessed to hear what he has to say to us from the word of the Lord. So without any further ado, I would like to present to some and introduce to others, Elder James A. Hicks.
Thank you, and we thank you for being here. We thank you for those on Facebook Live who are joining us today. We thank you for joining us, and we will start with a brief word of prayer, and then we will jump right into the message. So as we bow our heads, Father, we thank you, Lord, for bringing us together on this day, Lord. You've blessed us to wake up, Lord, with our breath in our bodies, Father. You've given us food to eat, and you've given us shelter, and we don't take that for granted. So we thank you, Lord, and we thank you for those who are streaming in, Father, that are joining us, Father, here at Greater Faith, that want to partner with us, Lord, to help bring the ministry and bring the message, Lord, worldwide. And we thank you for them, Lord. We thank you for our pastors who are here. We thank you for all the saints who are visiting us online as well. And we ask that the message will come forth and be food to the soul. We ask these things now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Today we are going to be coming from the book of Acts. And it'll be Acts, the 9th chapter, for those who are going to be following along with us. And today we're going to be talking about something that I titled The Wake-Up Call. Titled The Wake-Up Call. And we're coming from Acts, the 9th chapter, verses 1 through 9. I'll read those verses, and then we'll talk briefly about the wake-up call. So Acts, the 9th chapter, starting at the first verse, says, "And Saul, yet breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest, and desired of him letters to Damascus to the synagogues, that if he found any of this way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound unto Jerusalem. And as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly there shined round about him a light from heaven. And he fell to the earth, and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And he said, Who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus whom thou persecutest. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And the Lord said unto him, Arise and go into the city, and it shall be told thee what thou must do. And the men which journeyed with him stood no man. And Saul arose from the earth, and when his eyes were opened, he saw no man, but they led him by the hand and brought him unto Damascus. And he was 3 days without sight, and neither did eat nor drink. May God add a blessing to the reading of the word. Today we're going to talk about the wake-up call. The wake-up call. Things that define a wake-up call. The first thing I want to talk about that defines a wake-up call is a wake-up call gets your attention. That's what it's meant to do. If I was to call any of you all to wake you up in the morning, the main thing that it's going to do if your phone rings or your alarm goes off or whatever it is going to get your attention. So that's the first thing a wake-up call is meant to do. Another thing that a wake-up call is meant to do is it wakes you out of your sleep. It wakes you out of your sleep. So with the wake-up call, once again, in order to wake up, that means you're more than likely sleeping. Amen? The next thing about a wake-up call is it's usually unexpected. It's usually unexpected. So even though you may be asleep and you might, know that a call is coming, most times when your alarm goes off or that wake-up call comes through, it still catches you off guard because you are more than likely sleeping. So a lot of times it can still be unexpected, that wake-up call. But the last thing, and probably the most important thing about a wake-up call is a wake-up call is necessary. It's necessary. You need that wake-up call in order to get up and go on about your day or whatever venture that you're dealing with for that moment. So a wake-up call is necessary. What we've been dealing with, not only in this nation, but worldwide with this pandemic, I see it as our wake-up call. And not just for the body of Christ, but for people in general, this is a wake-up call. And I wanted to bring this message so that everyone that's listening can hopefully take this message in and realize what this wake-up call is about in your life and how you can apply it to your life in order to make sure that you're taking advantage of the situation. Amen? Amen. So, once again, talking about everything going on right now with COVID-19, it's a wake-up call. What's one of the things I said that defines a wake-up call is that it gets your attention. And I think when we watch the news and we drive down the road and we see businesses shut down and we see a whole country of Italy shut down, that tends to get your attention. Because that, I don't know about anybody else, but that's something that I have never seen in my lifetime thus far. So it definitely has gotten our attention. It wakes you up out of your sleep. This whole situation has definitely, it woke people up because we didn't think something like this could happen in this modern day world. All of the different technology that we have, all of the different vaccines that we have come across over the years, we didn't think something of this level, this magnitude could still affect us, especially here in the United States. But it definitely woke us up out of our sleep to let us know that we are still vulnerable in certain areas. Another thing is that it was unexpected. I said a wake-up call is unexpected at times. This was definitely unexpected. Most of us had very, very big plans for 2020, and we still have big plans for 2020. But I think if we're honest with ourselves, everything that's going on has definitely rearranged those plans. Definitely rearranged those plans, but we have to kind of look at our game plan and maybe reconfigure it a little bit, because this was unexpected. None of us expected to be, working from home and sitting at home all day and, transitioning from room to room and having, some of us have a lot of extra free time. We did not see that on our agenda for 2020. So that's it. But the last thing I said is that a wake-up call is necessary. It's necessary. Everything that we're dealing with now is necessary. I feel that we needed a wake-up call. We needed to be stirred up a little bit because I think a lot of us have gotten comfortable in our current state of affairs. Even our country, even the world, we've gotten comfortable in some areas. And you know what? Sometimes it takes something of a certain magnitude to get our attention and to kind of get us up and at them and get us moving in the right direction. And this has definitely done that. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today is the wake-up call. In Acts, what we're just reading in chapter 9, we're focusing on a young man named Saul. A young man named Saul. Theologians say that Saul was around 30 years old at this time when he had this Damascus Road experience. Saul was at the pinnacle of his career. The pinnacle of his career. He was a bounty hunter, maybe a federal agent of sorts, and he worked directly for the high priest. He had men that worked for him and worked under him, so he had a leadership role in his job. And they followed his every command. Saul was highly educated, okay? But he also had power. He had power in his role. He would go out and he would catch these so-called Christians and he would bring them to prison. But if Saul saw fit, or if there was some kind of pushback, he had the authority to have them killed if he felt that that was necessary. That was the power that he had at only 30 years old. So that's a lot of power to have to be able to make those type of decisions at that age. So Saul had good pay. He had a high-profile job. He got to travel the country. And he also had a license to kill. So at points, he probably felt untouchable. Like, hey, I can do this thing. I can make these decisions, and nobody can stop me. Yeah. But Saul had a wake-up call. Yeah. He had a wake-up call. And when you read in verses 4 and 5, where it says, he fell to the earth and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And he said, who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest. It sounds like maybe Jesus had been trying to get his attention even prior to this. Maybe some other things had happened that were on a smaller scale to get his attention, but it just never worked. It never really clicked. And Saul just probably kept resisting until Jesus got him to a point where, listen, now you have to listen. I have your full and undivided attention at this point. Jesus says it's hard to kick against the pricks. When Saul was knocked down and he saw the light and Jesus is speaking to him, he said it's hard to kick against the pricks. In essence, Jesus is saying it is pointless to go against my will. It's pointless. And it took this wake-up call to truly get Saul's attention so he could realize that, you know what, it really is pointless. I need to now submit to the calling of God over my life. So that makes me think, just like Saul was resisting and he probably, heard, signs of Jesus trying to speak to him, but he kept resisting, what are you resisting? What is it that you feel like God is calling upon your life that you're fighting against and that you don't want to submit to? Because the last thing you want to do is get to a point like Saul to where God forces you to submit. You want to be willing to do it and submit naturally. But I think this wake-up call is meant to get everybody's attention. For those who might not have been willing to submit earlier and you might have been resisting, this is what was needed to truly get your attention. So, what is God asking of you? What is he trying to get you to do? What is your wake-up call? What is the situation or the goal that he has set for you that he wants you to achieve, but you have been resisting it? So, now that you see where I'm coming from and you see where I'm going with this, you're probably thinking in your mind, all right, I see what you're saying. We're in a situation, this is the wake-up call, but with everything going on right now, what do I do? Everything has changed. The world, life, we know it, has changed. We talked earlier this morning about a new normal. There's a new normal going on, not only in our country, but in the whole world. So what are we supposed to do? Especially in this massive unemployment right now. We have people who are sick or even dying because of the coronavirus. And it seems like there's no end in sight. Nobody really knows when things will turn around. But this is the thing. When you really look closely and you really start to really kind of look at the situation, everybody, there are people who are actually striving in these times. People have found opportunities and they have been trying to take advantage of those opportunities even in a crazy world that we're living in. I want to give you a couple of examples that decided in the midst of this crisis while they were home, they decided to start a cooking and catering company. They decided to start a cooking and catering company. So what they do is that every week or every few days, they will go online and go on Facebook Live and show a different recipe. They'll show how to start up a different recipe, and people who are sitting home and they're not doing anything and they're running out of ideas of what to cook, they can go online, see what this young lady's doing, and replicate it and create a nice new recipe at home. So what is this doing? This is getting her a lot of followers. People are following her now, and they know her to be a chef. So then once everything kind of changes and everything gets better, then she's able to launch the catering portion by promoting it to now all of the new people who have now joined her to learn more about recipes. So she took a situation and she was able to find the opportunity within it. I have another friend that started a fitness and physical training business. So once again, as you all know, gyms are closed. And a lot of parks and things like that are shut down where you can't do that. So a friend saw an opportunity and said, you know what? People still want to work out. People want to still be active. So he's giving tips online and he's doing virtual trainings and virtual physical trainings so people can still work out while they are at home. Once again, he found an area of opportunity and he used that to his benefit. I'm sure everybody's heard of the virtual DJs that are now coming up now. Have a lot of virtual DJs. And so now they're spinning records and they're creating a huge following for those who want to still hear music and they want to vibe while they're at home. Each individual I just spoke about so far had a wake-up call. During this pandemic, they had a wake-up call that let them know that, you know what? This is a dream that I've had for years. This is something I've been thinking about. Maybe this is now the opportunity that I should step out and bring this thing to pass. It was their wake-up call. Even here at my church, at Greater Faith, we had a wake-up call because we never really took virtual services and Facebook Live. We never took it that seriously. But change, we decided that, hey, we'll make that our main form of reaching out, and our main form of witnessing. And what we found out is that we've been doing this maybe 4 weeks now, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks, and almost every week the numbers have doubled, and they've kept going up as far as views and people that are watching and listening to the Word of God. Amen. We had a wake-up call, and we decided to make those changes in order to take advantage of that opportunity. So what I'm saying is this has been a huge wake-up call for so many people. And then maybe your wake-up call is not entrepreneurial. Maybe it's not an entrepreneurial endeavor. Maybe your wake-up call is spending more time with God. Maybe that's your wake-up call. Maybe you've been working too hard and you've been doing too much and you've been neglecting reading your Bible. You've neglected prayer. And maybe this gives you the opportunity to reconnect with your Heavenly Father. That could have been your wake-up call. Maybe your wake-up call is to help build your relationship with your spouse. You both are working different hours and you're going here, you're going there, and you don't have that time to really build the relationship. Maybe that's the wake-up call. Now that you have a little more time and a little more flexibility and you're stuck at home, now you're able to talk more. You're able to communicate more and find that connection that might have been lost over the years. Maybe it's to bond with your kids. Your kids, they've been here and they've been there and they're starting to grow up and you realize that, hey, I missed some years and things move so fast, time goes so fast. Now I have time to bond with my kids, see what's going on. Now that they're home and they're home all the time, I see that all throughout social media, like, oh my God, when are these kids going back to school? It's crazy. They need to hurry up. But maybe this is a time for you to bond with them, to get to know them a little better, to get to know what's on their mind. What are they thinking about? What are they worrying about? Using the time to bond. Maybe that is your wake-up call. Or maybe your wake-up call is for you to just slow down and relax. You might be the type of individual, you're already driven. You already have this going on. You already have a lot of things going on, right? And God is just saying, listen, you need to slow down. You got a lot going on. This is a time for you to relax. I've shut the doors. I've closed things off. You're forced to stay at home, not supposed to be on the streets. Now you can actually relax and rejuvenate yourself. Maybe find you a nice book that you like to read. Get into reading more. That's something maybe that you'd love to do. You haven't done it in a while. Maybe start writing. Maybe write a book. Maybe that was an idea that you had, but you've been so busy. This is the time that you can have that wake-up call where you can actually shut things down and just focus and meditate. God, what would you have me to do at this time? Amen? Amen. So either way, this is the time for you to quit sleeping and be about your Father's business, whatever that is for your life. Whatever that is for your life, you're able to hear from God so much more clearly now that you have time and limited distractions. So there's 3 things I want you to consider when you, and it's all right here in Acts chapter 9. In verse 7 of Acts chapter 9 it says, "And the men which journeyed with him stood speechless, hearing a voice, but seeing no man." So they heard a voice, but they didn't see anybody. So sometimes your friends or the people that are around you, they may hear you, but they may not be able to see the vision that God has given you. They may hear you, but they may not see the vision that God has given you. Because you know why? Because the wake-up call is for you. It's not for them. So the first thing is, don't let them detour you or get you to lose focus on what God has for you. Just because they don't see the vision does not mean that that's not what God has for you. Because sometimes people, when they don't see it, they'll try to talk you out of it. No, that's a crazy idea, and so on and so forth. But if God has given you that vision and you see it, as long as God sees it and you see it, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. So don't let them deter you. So that's the first thing. In verse 8 it says, "And Saul arose from the earth, and when his eyes were opened, he saw no man. But they led him by the hand and brought him into Damascus." So Saul was blind after he got the wake-up call. He spoke with Jesus, and Jesus gave him the information, but when he got up off the ground, he still could not see. Sometimes we expect that after the wake-up call that we're going to see clearly. We think that we're going to know exactly what to do, know exactly where to go, know exactly who to talk to. That's usually not the case. That's usually not the case. Sometimes you can't see that clearly, and you're scared of the unknown. That's the main thing that usually stops people from walking in their passion and walking in their purpose is fear. They're scared of the unknown because, they're blind to a point where they can't see what direction to go. They know what to do. They know I need to get to, point Z. But all those letters in between, how do I navigate through that? They may be confused. And some questions that may go through your head as you're trying to figure this out and you have that wake-up call, but you're still blind is, what if it doesn't work? What if people, they don't respond positively to what I have to say or the business idea I'm doing? What if it turns out to be a waste of time? What will people think? And those are usually things that start going through your mind that causes you to say, you know what, maybe I need to just sit tight. Maybe I don't need to move. Maybe I feel it and I really feel like God is pushing me to do this and it's something different, but, maybe not now. Maybe I'll wait. But I heard a saying that I've always kept in my head when I have those fears, when I'm trying to step out and I have those fears. I heard a saying from Viola Davis. She's the actress on How to Get Away with Murder. Some of you watch the show. And the saying basically was, if you find yourself on a diving board and you're afraid to dive, then just dive afraid. Very simple saying. But it's stuck in my head because it's basically saying, jump anyway. Take the step anyway. Even with the fear, even with the doubt, just take the next step. Just go ahead and dive afraid. You're blind, you don't see where you're going, keep walking, keep going. Because guess what? Saul didn't know either. Saul didn't know. God told him, hey, go in the city and I'll give you more information. Saul had no idea if he would ever get to sight that. He had no idea what was going on or how things were going to work out. But he still went because that's what Jesus told him to do. Mm-hmm. So that's the main thing. I want you to continue to go regardless. Because what you have to realize is that wake-up calls in situations like this, a lot of times they only come once in a lifetime. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you don't get a do-over. Sometimes you don't get that chance again. Mm-hmm. So you have to take advantage of that opportunity when it's in front of you. I want you to think about this. Most of you have kids. When your kids and grandkids get older, and they're going to school, and while they're in class, they're learning about the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020. And then they come to you and ask you, hey, I'm learning about this in school. What did you do during that time? When they ask you that question, what will your response be? I want you to think about that. What will your response be? Will it be, I sat at the house and watched time go by? Click through Netflix, watch show after show, movie after movie, ate all the food in the refrigerator? Is that going to be your response? Or will it be, I decided during that time to invest in a franchise. I took advantage of the low stock prices because the stocks were dropping. I decided to jump in the stock market. I decided to become an angel investor for startup businesses. Other businesses that wanted to start up, I gave them seed money. I decided to write a book. Start on my memoirs. I decided to purchase a rental property. Because one day, somebody's going to ask, and they're going to know what happened during that time. What was your response? And I don't think any of us want our response to be lackadaisical and we just didn't do anything. Right. God has something for each of us to do during this time. And we have to respond accordingly. We have to make sure that we are listening to God and we're not just, sitting around and just letting time go by, but we are heeding the wake-up call that He's given us. Amen? Amen. And the last point I want to bring up is in verse 9. And it says, and he was 3 days without sight, and neither did eat nor drink. So for 3 days, Saul couldn't see. Neither did he eat or drink. So basically, this was a very rough time in his life. So if you think about it, after he got the wake-up call, things really kind of got worse in a sense because he didn't eat and he still could not see. And it was a rough time in his life, and at some point he probably wasn't sure if he'd ever see again. Like, maybe this is it. Maybe I will live in a blind state. And it made me think that some of us recently have had some really, really dark nights. Recently. We had some really, really dark nights with everything going on. Some of you may have friends or family members or know of people who might have passed away due to the virus. Some of you might have been laid off or furloughed due to the virus from your job. Money might be tight right now. Maybe you had to get an extension on your rent or on your mortgage payments. Maybe you had a small business and you had to shut that small business down for a month, so you're not bringing in any income. And you watch TV and you just don't know when this nightmare is going to end. It just seems so dark. It seems so gloomy right now. And you're wanting things to get back to normal. But the main thing that you have to remember is that your eyes will open again. They will open again. You will be able to see soon enough. Because we know that this is not going to last forever. Yeah, it feels like it will. But it's not going to last forever. The Bible talks about how weeping, it may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. You will get your joy back. You will get your joy back. But the main idea is, what are you going to do during this time? Are you just going to complain about the situation and complain about how bad things are and I wish things would hurry up and get back to normal? Or are you going to find the opportunity that lies in the situation? Are you going to heed the wake-up call that has been given to you and respond accordingly? That is the idea that I want to give you. Here at our church, we have a saying that our mother came up with, and it's victory during the virus. All right? There is victory during the virus. It really is about your faith and your mind state. How do you see it? You know, it's the whole, glass half full, glass half empty. If you just want to complain about it and just want to be negative about it, then guess what? Things will continue to be negative. But if you heed the wake-up call and see the positive and see the opportunity that God placed in front of you, then you can be victorious. All you have to do is hold on. As I get ready to wrap everything up, later in the scriptures, Saul actually had another wake-up call. Saul eventually changed his name to Paul, Apostle Paul. And he went to spreading the gospel all around the world. All around the world. He wrote letters that eventually became the scriptures in the New Testament that we read today. And after his wake-up call, he was more powerful, he was more effective than he'd ever been before. God anointed him to do miraculous works, and he led nations to Christ. But first, he had to heed the wake-up call. So that is my message to you today, is the wake-up call. Let's not let this time go by. Let's not let this wake-up call go by and we miss the opportunity. As I close in a final prayer, Lord, we thank you for this message as we talk about the wake-up call. We thank you for those who are listening, Lord, and we ask that they would heed the wake-up call that you placed in their lives. Give them the faith and the courage to continue to push through anything or any obstacles that might be holding them down. But most importantly, help them to push through the fear, Lord. The fear that might be stifling them from taking that step, Lord. Let them not be afraid to dive. Let them be willing to dive, Lord. Even with everything going on and everything might even be looking bleak. I don't know what situations they're dealing with in their life, Lord, but let them be willing to step out in faith to do what you've called them to do, Lord. And I think that years from now, Lord, they'll be so happy that they took that opportunity, that they listened to the wake-up call, Lord, and they changed their life for the better, so that they can look back, and when they look at 2020, it won't all be negative, but they'll actually see the sunshine, and they'll see the light and the positivity that came through the coronavirus. And we thank you now, Lord, for the message. We thank you for the people of God who are listening, and we thank you for our pastors, and we thank you for everybody who's in attendance. In Jesus' name, amen. Finally, as we wrap everything up, for those who are listening and those who are joining us, we thank you so much for joining us. And if you've been blessed, maybe you've been watching us for the last few weeks, maybe you've been joining us online, we thank you for that. If you've been blessed, I heard a phrase that said, feed what's feeding you. If you feel like here that we've been able to feed you through the Word of God, all we ask you to do is support. For support us, you can go to centeroffaithchurch.com. And you can definitely give online. We would love your support so that we can continue to do this, and we can continue to show support and show love to people, not only in China, but all around the world. We thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
Amen. Amen. Amen.